You don't want to see him just sort of die of heart failure. You want to see them blow the fucker up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it's also amazing to think that that monster is just a guy in a suit. Oh, now you've turned the crowd against you. See what you've done. Yay! Yay! Love that Gateway Film Center crowd. Welcome. This is Fright Club Live. Once a month, we do it live here at Gateway, as we love to do. And it's always such a fun time. So we've got another great crowd. She is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
And we are from madwolf.com talking about sea beasts.
We are.
And showing a great movie tonight and a few great ones to talk about as we count them down. Our top 5. We got 5 this time, right? 5
we
to
do
1?
have 5 because you don't
1?
let me do fuzzy math in the live
yeah,
events.
well, the live events, it's hard.
It gets long.
Hard to do fuzzy math. But we got 5 good ones. And we want to say, first of all, do we have the slide?
We do.
Are you ready with the slide? We have been nominated, Fright Club has been nominated for the first annual Columbus Podcast Awards.
Yay!
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. So if you haven't already, we'd love for you sometime to vote. The winner is picked. The winners in different categories are picked by online voting throughout the month of May. So you just vote at ColumbusPodcastAwards.com. And we are in the TV and film category. And also at the end,
you can vote for us for Podcast of the Year.
if you are so inclined.
If you are so inclined.
Love if you were so inclined. So thank you for the nomination, whoever's idea that was. we love you. And and actually the awards are going to be presented here at Gateway.
That is correct.
Next month. So hopefully.
We know how to get here, so that's
we
a
do.
plus.
I think they have a cot for us somewhere in the back. But so much stuff going on here. In fact, this is just like action-packed announcements here.
That's right.
On the Fright Club.
Get
thanks.
ready!
You ready for this? Hit that next slide. The Dead Don't
We
Die.
have the motherfucking premiere of The Dead Don't Die at the next Fright Club.
Man, I'll tell you what. Everybody, if you're like us, and you probably are, you were so geeked about this movie anyway. So geeked. And we are so thankful to Cicely from the Owens Group for really arranging this for us. Basically, just coming to us and asking us if we would like to have this for Fright Club.
She
We're like,
said,
are you
it
kidding?
opens on the 14th, but if you want it to be your June Fright Club, you can show it on the 12th. And I was like, let me think. Yes?
So it's Jim Jarmusch, a director who we love anyway, and it's a zombie film, as they say, with the greatest cast ever disassembled.
That's right.
And you probably
Adam
know all
Driver,
about it.
Ghouls.
Yeah. Bill Murray, Tilda Swinton, the works. And,
Iggy Pop, Tammy.
So we've got an event made on the Mad Wolf Columbus Facebook page. We've got an event made, and we probably will be posting about, if there's passes involved, anything like that, just exactly how they're going to handle the passes for the screening. But I wanted to get the information out there, and we look forward to seeing everybody back on June the 12th as we do a podcast on our favorite horror movies featuring
starring this cast.
Yeah. So
that's basically how we're going to break it down, because so many people in this film have been in other great horror movies. So that's how we're going to break this down.
Yeah, so man, we're excited about that. But another horror movie a lot of people are looking forward to comes out a week later on June 21st, and that's the new Child's Play.
And the reason we bring this up is because our good friend Corey Metcalf, he has the Rewatch podcast, and they are watching all of the Child's Play films in preparation. So you can check that out if you are also eager for the 21st to arrive.
And as far as the last Fright Club podcast, we want to say thanks to our buddy Daniel Baldwin from Bloody Disgusting and the Schlocketeer. Love that. The Schlocketeer.
That's awesome.
He sat in with us to talk about horror movie hippies, man.
That's right, he did.
And we got some feedback.
We did. Actually, it's one of those ones, sometimes I don't know which one of our topics are going to hit, and this one seemed to go over pretty well. And there was a little bit of controversy on the episode because George really full-on hated 2 of the movies that I chose. Full-on hated.
But I'm in the minority. You have the crowd on your side, and I know that.
Well, except Silas. So Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things came in at number 5, and Silas agreed with you that it was terrible.
So
he thinks it's terrible.
He gave it to Charles Barkley. Terrible.
He gave it to
terrible.
Charles Barkley.
But everybody else loves it, and that's fine. You
everybody
guys,
else seems
you guys
to be,
go.
Tom likes it. People seem to be happy with it.
I'll be over here watching a musical.
That's right. You'll be over there watching a musical. Exactly.
Which we're going to do tonight. Hint, hint.
And also, actually, Beer Nut One. So he loved it very much, and he said some nice things on Twitter. So we want to say hey to him. And then Dave, our friend Phantom Dark Dave, he liked it a lot, but he had a bone to pick because he felt like Last House on the Left should have been on the list. And I did sort of kick it around. I'm like, I don't think they're hippies, but he had a great argument. He said they were buying pot on the way to a concert. That seemed like a very hippie thing to do. All right, I got to give him that.
Speaking of Dark Dave, he has his own podcast, Dave's Pop Culture Podcast, and he had our West Coast correspondent, Jenny,
that's right,
on, and they had a really fun conversation, but they gave a lot of love to the Fright Club.
They did.
So we have to give a lot of love back.
We do, even though Dave admitted he doesn't like the Silence of the Lambs.
Wow.
I know.
Woo. Don't you blaspheme in here.
I know.
Don't you blaspheme in here.
But
no,
they made up for it by saying many, many nice things about us.
They did.
And it's one of his Shoot the Breeze episodes. We've been on one of his Shoot the Breeze episodes. They're fun.
Yeah, so we appreciate that. So, all right, we've rambled. We got to get to this list. It is Sea Beast. We should probably mention really quickly a couple that didn't make the list, especially one that we really went back and forth on, making it number 5, and that is The Creature from the Black Lagoon. Because, sure.
No, there's some grumbling in the audience. I knew this was going to cause some trouble.
It's a classic. It's a classic sea beast, and it's one of those. We're not going to go into it too much, but you watch it today through the lens today, and it's got some issues.
Yeah,
it's got some social issues about it.
It does. It has some, and I've tried to watch it a number of times.
When it came to top 5, we thought that was the bottom line. We said, okay, which one is a better movie? And it was pretty obvious
that we went with
this one, number 5, and it's the American nuclear weapons testing results in the creation of a seemingly unstoppable dinosaur-like beast, the original from 1954, Gojira. Now, most of you probably already know this, but every time we talk about this movie, we feel like we should point out that we're not talking about Godzilla King of the Monsters.
No.
Which is the one, the American
bastardized
reimagining.
version.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, when I saw that version as a kid, for many years I thought when somebody said, Godzilla or even this, I thought that's the one they were talking about. So there's confusion out there.
I think a lot of people do think that. And that was really, they just took the original, Ishiro Honda's original, and then they just spliced in Ironside. What's his name?
Raymond Burr.
They just sort of stuck him in places, like looking at papers saying, this is crazy. And then it was the weirdest. But no, it's the original, which is obviously it was really the kickoff of the creature feature craze of the 50s. It was a reaction, of course, to World War II, the Japanese reaction to sort of science run amok. Yes, it's a guy in a rubber suit, sure. And there are a handful of scenes that look pretty cheesy and stupid. But on the whole, I think this movie holds up brilliantly.
Well, it does look that way by today's standards, but at the time it was really groundbreaking in its special effects. And one of the things that you got to love ingenuity for, really the underwater footage of Godzilla was just, they called it dry wet, where they just basically filmed it with an aquarium in front of the camera with fish in it. When you think about that, that's pretty effing genius, really. Maybe it was some of those hippies from the last podcast going, what we do, man? We just get that aquarium, put it right there.
That's right.
And it worked. And, of course, it's got the guy in the suit. But, again, like you said, they thought at the time, I think they toyed with trying for some Harryhausen-type stop-motion stuff, but just too expensive. So what they did for what they had was pretty darn influential, I think, over the years, especially when this became one of the first, probably after Rashomon, Japanese films to break through to a worldwide audience.
Oh yeah, they made a couple of bucks. They probably could have. Sprung for the Harryhausen, but it's also one of the most beloved franchise, and it is stood the test of time like very few others in cinematic history.
Yeah, I think that at the last count, I could be wrong. They credit almost 40 sequels after this original movie,
and of course, a new one later this summer.
And a new one that I know Peter is excited to see.
Oh yeah,
we're kidding. Yeah,
nice.
Which should be, is that coming out later this year?
Yeah,
the next
coming out
Godzilla
next
movie?
month.
All right, but the original is number 5 on our list of sea beasts. And I just found out in doing some research for this that I thought was interesting. The original name, Gojira, was a combination of gorilla and whale. So it's like the gorilla whale monster, which is pretty damn scary when you think about it.
No, it's not at all scary.
No, the sea beast, a gorilla whale?
No.
Yes.
It's not.
You're scared. You're running from that all the time. That's number 5. So let's move it up to number 4 on our list of sea beasts. This is from 2003, and it's based on a true story of 2 scuba divers accidentally stranded in shark-infested waters after their tour boat has left open water.
Daniel, where's the boat? That's a good question.
As we are stuck in the middle of the ocean. Oh, God. Oh.
It's okay. It's okay. This can't be happening.
Oh, God, something's rubbing against my foot. Are you all right? No, stay still. It's going to be okay.
So two things about when we screened this movie, because we got a chance to screen it before it came out and review it for the other paper back in the day. One was we were about to leave for vacation to scuba dive for the first time. That's true.
Yeah.
And the other one is that it was a radio station event, and George's colleague and John Dean's wife, Heather, came with us, and she goes, "Did you know it's based on true events? I can't believe they survived it." And it was just the look on my face like, maybe you shouldn't come.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, it really is incredibly chilling to think about, especially when you're getting ready to scuba dive. But this is based on a true event from 1998, a couple of scuba divers in Australia. And in the real event, the boat, the people, the team that took them out to scuba dive didn't even realize they were missing for 2 days after they were gone. So it's incredibly chilling. But this was filmed over 2.5 years, and it was done with no special effects. It was all shark wranglers and some well-placed tuna, some bloody tuna bait in the water with those actors, which is, man, that's some trust in the shark wranglers.
Oh my God.
I think. But as you can imagine, it creates such a sense of dread and of fear for what's under like she says in the trailer, something just went past my leg.
Yeah.
You can't see it, but the fact that what might be under there, and it's probably under there, is just chilling.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. So the writer, director, editor, producer, guy who did everything, Chris Kentis.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me. He's only really done one other film. He remade The Silent House and hasn't done much really else, which surprised me because this was a splashy opening. I mean, it was an amazingly compelling, terrifying, very authentic, and that's what I think is one of the biggest problems with sea creature films, is it's very hard to capture any sort of authenticity, but he really does it, not just in the filming, not just in the real sharks, but also in the relationship between the two leads. They seem very much like a married couple. They just it's the whole movie to me. I think that's what really sells it, is that I feel like not only is it based on a true story, it just feels like it's actually happening in front of you. And
also for fans of another Sea Beast movie that is probably going to be on this list here in a few minutes, you don't really see or hear the last names of the two characters. You see their last names on their scuba ID cards, and one last name is Watkins and the other is Kintner, which is right out of Jaws.
Yes.
Chrissy, the original, the first victim in Jaws, is named Watkins, and the little boy that gets eaten is Alex Kintner, which is a nice tip of the hat to Jaws from Open Water. And they made at least one sequel. Was it just one?
Yeah,
Open
no,
Water?
There's two. There's
two
Open
more.
Water 2 and 3.
I've seen the
2
second
isn't
one.
terrible.
No, it's not terrible.
No.
And that's the main thing about now. It's interesting now when I haven't scuba dived in a few years, but I always think of this movie when they go through the calling of the roll when you're on the boat and when you get back in the boat. They call it and you have to say here or whatever. And I always think to myself, what measures did they not take like that back in 1998, and so that we won't be left behind, because that would suck real bad.
Here's why you won't be left behind.
Because you don't scuba dive anymore.
I don't scuba dive anymore, so there's no chance that they're going to leave him behind.
Yeah,
None.
she retired.
I did.
So you're my spotter, so
That's
I
right.
appreciate that. So from 2003, Open Water is number 4 on our list. And moving up to number 3, it's the one we're going to see tonight, and I hope you're all ready to sing, because it's a musical from 2015 in Warsaw. A pair of mermaid sisters are adopted into a cabaret. One seeks love with humans, the other hungers to dine on the human population of the city. The Lure.
Wyciągnijcie nas, nie bójcie się, przecież was nie zjemy. Wyjemy, 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 wyjemy.
Well, once again, we didn't get too many hands when we asked how many people saw the movie tonight, which is great. I love that. We've kind of stolen away, as we like to do. Got a little quiet time to talk about this amongst ourselves and not spoil anything.
Not make out. That's not why we stole away.
Oh, maybe. But I think this one especially might get some mixed reactions because it's so different, and you can tell people and you can laugh and you can say, hey, it's a Polish mermaid vampire. But
musical.
Yeah. But then it's a kind of a movie that is just going to make people go, oh, okay. But I think other people are going to absolutely love it.
I think you're right. And I think one of the things that is tough to completely follow, clearly, it's set in Poland in 1983. There's a lot of political allegory here about Poland sort of giving up their own culture, giving up who they are to embrace this Western culture that was coming in at the time, which you can see in a lot of the film in terms of the songs that they're playing and you know, sort of the glam that they're running after, but also in the core story, which is, to a great degree, less bloodshed, but still, it's the original Hans Christian Andersen version of The Little Mermaid.
Original.
Yes.
And I think that's very interesting about the political undertones. But even without that, even if you remove that, there's other threads about gender and love and what women have, throughout history, have been forced to give up for home and family and quote-unquote love and are expected to by society. So there's things to appreciate there, even without that political. But I think that's very interesting, and I think it works very well within the movie.
And we've talked a little bit about, because we've brought this film into at least the Sisters podcast, or at least one other. And it is an incredibly sort of tragic look at what adolescent women are asked to give up. And what I think is interesting in this, at one point, Golden sings a song to her sister, who is the one who may or may not turn into sea foam. And the whole point of the song is, you can walk out of this. You are responsible. I like that. I like that. It's that, there's pressure on you, but you don't have to do this. You can choose just to be who you are.
And I think just from the fact that it is the original Little Mermaid, and then you start thinking about what Disney did to it, and then it can sort of come full circle in what a lot of these, we like to call them romance porn movies, kind of sell to adolescent girls. You know, a certain fantasy of how they expect love and relationships to be and how they're expected to conform in them. You can get into that conversation as well. But I love the fact that it is the original Little Mermaid, which is so much darker than... You know, we enjoyed the Disney version when
One of us enjoyed it last, I think.
When our son was little. We played it a lot, but the original version is so much darker.
It is. I liked so much about this movie, and I did love the whole sort of Bowie-esque kind of glam to it. I loved that it was so immature-ish, and yet they were trying so hard to be glam and strippery and cosmopolitan, and I think it had the weirdest, most interesting vibe the whole film did.
Yeah, it has a really interesting vibe because one of the we've talked before about many times in foreign films you'll hear American English language songs, and one of maybe the second song that they do is Donna Summer's "I Feel Love" with the actual American lyrics. I think that's the only American one they sing, though.
I think you might be right.
But all the rest of the tunes have a very ABBA-ish kind of pixie dust to them.
The ones that they sing in the club.
In the club,
But then there are a couple songs, there are a handful of songs throughout that are basically siren songs.
Yes.
And that's my favorite one, is at the very opening when they are still in the water, you know. Come give us a hand, we won't eat you. Eat you, eat you, eat you. I love that song. I love the opening. The whole opening in this movie is awesome.
Yeah, and it's the first musical to come out of Poland, which is amazing.
That is amazing.
That it took.
What a weird musical to hang your hat on.
I know.
It's our first musical. It's this vampire mermaid thing. But...
And we've actually seen a couple of mermaid. Well, one specifically that we wanted to mention. What's not really a horror movie.
No.
But it's a movie called Blew My Mind, which is much more of a straight up metaphor for womanhood.
Yeah,
like
much
like Ginger Snaps is with the werewolf curse.
Yes.
This is a young woman getting a mermaid curse.
Exactly. And it was a really well made, interesting, jarring weird little film.
It is. And
I
it's-
liked it a lot.
It is. And did we see it on Shudder?
Yeah, it's on
Yeah,
Shudder right
so
now.
it's available.
It's a terrible title, blew my mind. And
Yeah.
it's a foreign language film. I had to think it's just a bad title.
It's blue as the color blue.
Yes.
Blew my mind. But yeah, it's on Shudder, although I wouldn't really call it a horror movie.
No.
But it might be worth checking out.
There's an old
especially
one
since we're
called,
talking mermaids.
She Creature, which is also a mermaid horror film. It's a bad one. Just FYI.
But this one has The Lure, with the two sisters, a couple of quite impressive mermaid tails.
Yes.
And they, I guess they weighed over 50 pounds, and they were over 6 feet long. Just the tails.
Yeah. They do though. They look very long.
Yeah.
In the couple of scenes where you see them, head to fin. They're impressive.
They are impressive. And this is a movie that is, well, again, I'm going to be very interested to talk to people after the movie, because it's one that's going to get mixed reactions. But I expect a lot of positive reactions too, and I'm glad we're showing it tonight. And by the way, we had a couple of people ask in happy hour, so I did want to pass on that we do have the merch availability set up for really anything you might want to get with the Fright Club logo.
Or the Mad Wolf logo.
Yeah, designed by James Garza, by the way. Shout out to James. We've got the whole thing set up on the website, and I made a post about it on the Facebook page, Mad Wolf Columbus. Or, you know what, as a couple of people have said, they're just going to direct message us
on
or
Twitter.
message us on Twitter.
Yeah.
We'll be happy to send you that link. We've gotten some cool stuff, and you
Yeah.
can basically just get whatever you want to. The logo has already been set up, so there's no sort of logo fee or stitching fee or whatever. It's all set up and done. So if you're interested, we would love to pass that along to you. All right, we've got The Lure. We're going to get ready to get musical and mermaidy. Let's head back in there.
That's right. That's all you're getting. Because I don't want to spoil a single thing about this movie.
How many people have already seen it? Ooh, not that many.
I'm
Love that.
excited.
Love that. So we're not going to say a word. We're going to sneak away and talk about it amongst ourselves later for the podcast, but we're going to move right on.
That's right.
To number 2 on our list of sea beast horror. From 2006, a monster emerges from the Han River and begins attacking people. One victim's loving family does what it can to rescue her from its clutches, the Host. You know, it's also amazing to think that monster is just a guy in a suit. No, that is a cool and very unique looking monster.
Oh
that
my God, it looks so
was actually
great.
designed by the co-writer and director who we love, Junho Bong.
Junho Bong.
Yeah.
See everything he's ever done. Do it.
Yeah, and actually, the father and daughter in this movie they also played father and daughter in Snowpiercer, his Snowpiercer, which I love. If you haven't seen Snowpiercer, it's not horror, but oh man, I love that movie. But one of the highest-grossing films in South Korea history, and the other little bit of trivia, I think we've mentioned this before, that on the set they nicknamed that monster Steve Buscemi.
That's right.
Okay, kind of throwing shade at Steve on the set, but it worked.
I don't know.
This is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun movie. In fact, you were just whispering to me that if we haven't shown this for Fright Club, we should show it.
Yeah, I think we can. We should work this into the 2020 lineup, which is already done, but I haven't submitted it yet, so I can move something around and pop that in there because it's a great movie, and because even though I imagine a lot of people have seen it already, to see, as you can imagine, to see that movie on a big screen is just phenomenal. I mean, it's a great movie. It's incredibly well written. The family dynamics are simultaneously heartbreaking and hilarious.
Yeah.
In a way that I don't think you always get right from a horror movie. But the effects are crazy good. And so I feel like I want to see it on a big screen again.
Yeah, and the way that monster moves and runs, it's so strange but effective.
Mm-hmm.
And actually the event that they're talking about in the trailer there, that was actually based on a true event in February of 2000 at a U.S. military facility in Seoul. A U.S. military civilian employee disposed of formaldehyde by dumping it into the sewer system.
Good thinking.
And it caused a bit of, they actually convicted him in absentia in court because USA, they did not send him over there to stand trial, but they convicted him of, I don't know what the charge would be, like possibly bringing on a mutant creature in the river. Don't be doing that.
No,
you're right. The family dynamics in this add a whole new layer to it, which ups the tension and makes it a lot more effective than just a a normal monster movie, but it's effective on that level too.
Oh yeah, no, it absolutely is. And for me, a lot of times, international horror films tend to have especially Korean horror films, they have a sense of humor that doesn't always translate particularly well, at least for me. But that's not the case in this one. I mean, I think it's very funny and very touching, and scary, and super cool to look at. So this is one of my favorite monster movies ever.
All right, so we'll mark it down. Maybe a future Fright Club title.
Could be.
To have on here, the
Could
host.
be.
Okay, that's number 2. We're under the gun here on the clock, so we got to get moving to number 1. Of course, you know what it is. It's Sharknado. No, it's not. It's from 1975. A killer shark unleashes chaos on a beach community. Jaws.
There is a creature alive today who has survived millions of years of evolution. It is as if God created the devil and gave him jaws.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
None of man's fantasies of evil can compare with the reality of Jaws.
What a great movie. I mean, sometimes it's pointed to with a little bit of disdain because it started the summer blockbuster that all studios have to have now, I guess. But man, it's such a great movie. Anytime it's one of those movies that if I'm flipping channels and it's on, I'm putting the remote down.
Yeah, he's not lying.
I'm
It's
not
on.
lying.
Yeah, it stays
Jaws is on. I mean,
yeah.
it's so great
I'm
from
with
start
ya.
to finish.
And
as-
you know, I think if there's one lesson to be learned from Jaws, don't be the mayor from Jaws. Live your lives with that as your motto. Oh my God, I'm not going to be the mayor from Jaws. It's that level of asshole.
It's still amazing that Spielberg was, I believe, 27. 27 years old.
Fuck
and
that guy.
He'd only...
That's not fair. That's not even fair.
I know. I was still, I think, mowing lawns at 27. But the way it's constructed, and, you know, it's funny to think that it's about sea beasts, but the producers, when they first bought the rights to the book, they thought you could actually just train sharks. Like you could dolphins. We'll just train sharks to get in there and act like they're eating somebody, but not really eat them. So then they were quickly informed otherwise, and they had to get on this whole deal of creating this mechanical shark, which, okay, it's very clearly mechanical when it gets to that Robert Shaw scene, but it's still, it works, and they mixed in, at some point they used some real underwater footage with a midget in a cage to make the shark look bigger. But the genius here is how little of the shark you see until way into the movie. You see a fin, and then by the time it gets to that, come down here and chum some of this shit, and the shark jumps out. Oh my God, that was such a huge moment because you finally got a really good look at it. It just amped up the scares because you're waiting, you want to see it, and you finally get that terrible shot, right in its mouth.
Well, also, I think there's probably no score in cinematic history as effective as that one, and there are some great scores. I mean, The Shining has a great score, and Psycho has a great... I mean, there are so many, but nothing like this.
Well, all you got to really hear is 2 notes.
Yeah.
That's
and
it.
then you're just like, oh, it's coming. Oh, my God. You're looking around. Yeah, and I had never seen this on the big screen until, I think it was last year, because Gateway Film Center shows it every 4th of July. And I've seen it 300,000 times because he doesn't ever not watch it if it's on TV, and it's on a lot. But I'd never seen it on a big screen.
Yeah.
And so we came and watched it here, and it is an incredibly effective film to see on a big screen.
As I've said before, I remember seeing it the day it opened in theaters because my family and I had seen them filming it. We were on vacation in Martha's Vineyard when they were filming it, and I mean, not right down the street, but we saw the scaffold out in the water, and then all the people in running around on the crew wearing Jaws T-shirts. So we wanted to be there to see it. And I've told the story before about how the guy's popcorn landed on my head on that scene where the guy's head rolls out of the boat, and the crowd was just terrified. And then you have also the personal story of the at the beginning on the beach of the woman's hand is a friend of your sister's.
Yeah, my sister Joy works with the hand. she worked for at an art gallery in Boston for a long time, and one of her colleagues, and she has a framed photo of the other side of the shot where Spielberg is behind her, and they didn't tell her that they were going to put crabs on her hand. They didn't tell her, so she's down in this ditch, down in this gut, she's like this, just screaming, and you can see Spielberg laughing at her because nobody told her that she wasn't allowed to move her hand, but there was going to be some crabs on it. It's a great picture.
Yeah, and it's a case where, oceanographers will tell you that it really exploited so many myths about how sharks really are, and that's probably true, but man, it did it in such an effective way to make a villain, to make a terrifying monster, Bruce. is what they called the mechanical shark, to make this terrifying monster. And it's one of the greatest cases, I think, of improving on a book, because if you've read the book Jaws, you know how really lame the ending is.
Have you read the book Jaws?
I have.
Have you read 6 or 7 different books about the making of the movie
have.
Jaws? Have you?
And they improved, they improved the ending with that. Again, maybe not based on reality with the blowing up of the tanks, but it's super cool.
I love that.
Such
it's
a
great
super
ending.
cool
No,
ending.
Yeah, you don't want to see him just sort of die of heart failure. You want to see them blow the fucker up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Another reason why it couldn't be anything else at number 1 of our Sea Beast, but Jaws from 1975. So that does it. We've just got a couple of minutes to get out of here and see and sing along with The Lure. We did bring the sing-along version,
songs are
right?
in Polish, so I'm not sure if you're going to sing along, but you'll enjoy them.
I'm going to.
Okay.
So we thank everybody for coming, and once again, put it on the calendar for June 12th.
Yep.
The Dead Don't Die. Premiere right here at Fright Club Live, Gateway Film Center. Again, you can check Mad Wolf Columbus on Facebook, the event page. You can always find us on Twitter. This podcast is at Fright Club Pod. Get in touch. You want to argue with us about any of these movies? That's great. You can always hit us up at Fright Club Pod. Besides Fright Club Live, we've got another Fright Club studio version in between that, right?
We do, and you know what we're going to do? This is what we're going to do for Mother's Day weekend. I'm not making this up. This is what I want to do. The Gateway to Hell, I don't know if you know this, is behind a Tim Hortons here in Columbus. Google it. I'm not making it up. So we're going to go to the Gateway to Hell, and then Daniel recommended we do a podcast on the Gateway to Hell movies. So it's a field trip, and then we're going to do a podcast on it, and that'll be the next one that's in the studio.
See, that's what she wants to do for Mother's Day. Whether or not we're going to take my mom,
we're totally
I don't
taking his
know
mom.
about that, but we shall see. It's all right.
Don't love me, Ma. I'm joking.
Oh, now you've turned the crowd against you. See what you've done. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming. We're going to see The Lure here in just a few minutes. And until next time, she is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
And this is the Fright Club Podcast.